So this is a Pyrovore model that I made for myself out of a variety of leftover bits from other Tyranid models. I really like a lot of the Tyranid models, but the Pyrovore right now feels a little outdated. And I wanted to model it in a way that could showcase the Flamespurt weapon. So this is what I came up with. Let me show you how I made it.
We may not win today, gentlemen, but we'll have a good time.
I think it's worthwhile to consider the biology of your Pyrovore before you model it. As I was looking through the spare bits and pieces to make this model, I started thinking about the Flamespurt weapon and what it might look like, because the hive mind isn't really limited by any normal evolutionary process or anything like that. It can mutate and adapt however it wants. I ended up sticking with a more traditional concept by making the Flamespurt a type of organic gun that was mounted above the head and under the carapace. But if you wanted a more entertaining model and something that might catch your opponent off guard, you could consider modeling it as some kind of fire skunk with the Flamespurt erupting from the back. I think you need to model the legs and body at a different angle than I do here to have the fire skunk spray arcing out. But it might be worth your time just for the reactions you would get from people the first time that they see it. Ultimately, that one's up to you. Traditional biocannon look or fire skunk. Let me know in the comments which route you would take for your hive fleet. So the build really starts off by using the carapace bits for the zoanthropes. In this kit you can make venomthropes or zoanthropes out of it. So if you do like I did, if you make venomthropes out of the kit, then you're going to have the spare carapace pieces for the zoanthropes. So I just clip them out, put the two halves together, and I kind of cleaned them up. I wanted to get a lot of pieces together before I went to make the whole thing, so it kind of helped to put this together and then at first and then see how the other pieces, the head and the Flamespurt and other things would fit around it. I also used a couple of pieces from the Tyranid Warriors kit. I had made a prime out of that kit, so I had a regular Tyranid Warrior chest plate to use, and also used the scything talons for the warriors there. They seem to be a good proportion, a good size for the model, the way that it came out. And this is what I used for the tail and the body. I'm noting right here the pieces you'll need to clip off. If you take these extra pieces that kind of protrude, you kind of have a longer tail piece and you have a little bit of a chunkier body. This is a piece that's a support for the Spore-Assist model. If you model the Tyrannocyte with the carapace pieces flanged out. And so here's what I'm doing. I'm going to clip off those extra protrusions so that I'm just left with kind of like a main lower abdomen and tail. And once I clip off the main pieces, I just kind of use the X-Acto knife to put some angles to it so it's not squared off, and you could file this down to kind of give it a little bit more rounded, organic look and that kind of thing. And that piece up at the top there, that needs to come off too so that it can fit up under the carapace pretty well, so I just nip that one off. That one's going to go into some green stuff, so I don't think it's super important to really clean that one up. But this is the kind of piece that you want to end up with. And a little bit of green stuff. Just fit it into the carapace. The head of the carapace is where these, you'll see, well, it's underneath my thumb right now, but on the zoanthrope model there are like these neural tentacles or something that kind of come up from behind the head, and we're going to stick with that as being the head of this model because it worked out pretty well to have those meet up with the Flamespurt, and it looked like maybe they were some biological mechanism that's like feeding the acid or the chemicals for this gun or something. So I left that as the head, and then I took the other end, stuck a little green stuff, and just kind of got a good position for the tail and abdomen that I wanted. Look it over a little bit, make sure you kind of got it where you want it. And then the chest plate just from the warrior really fits in pretty well there. Again, just kind of eyeball, see where you kind of want it to be and where the head and the gun would go afterwards, and then green stuff that one right on. There's a little bit of space down there for the abdomen. We'll figure that out with a little bit of green stuff here later. just get a good kind of start to it. There we go. So I filled that in, and then this worked really well to use a toothpick. I just kind of work it into the seam so it kind of has a nice blend into the body, but this is going to be underneath, so it's not going to be seen so much. And then I kind of used the toothpick to roll some flat sides so that it had some just kind of rounded still, but some more flat edges to kind of give it a shape instead of just looking like a blob. And once I got that done, I pressed the side of the very end of the toothpick in to kind of make those rib cage indentations that a lot of the Tyranid models have on their chest plates and stuff like that. And I think that really helped it blend into the Tyranid warrior chest plate piece, so it gave the model kind of a good unified look, I think. I was surprised at kind of how well that came out and looked when it was all painted up at the end. So just an easy little thing real quick to do that kind of makes it look a little better. And there I'm kind of pointing out where we're going to put the legs, the appendages for this. So we're going to use the extended carapace pieces from the Gene Stealer's kit, and we're going to take 2 rending claws, or a pair for each side, and just kind of green stuff them underneath those pieces and kind of figure out a way to make the legs work. These are actually the shoulder carapace pieces. These are extra bits that go on the Carnifex models. I think they're like an additional biomorph or something. It's a melee kind of thing, but they work really well, it seems, for like shoulder bits for this. So a little bit of green stuff. Make sure you kind of get your eyes to randomly kind of go out of focus and blur a little bit, like I did with the camera here, so you can get the same effect that I did for this model. And just kind of tack it on. I think for a lot of these pieces I tried to get the green stuff to tack it in place, and I always like to try to get a little bit of plastic glue or plastic cement around them to just really make it sturdy and a little extra durability and strength, because they're not going to contact fully the way that kits are intended to be assembled. And you can see it's really starting to come together there. Now the Flamespurt. The Flamespurt is this like vomit piece that comes off of the Magath Lord kit for Nurgle. I saw a listing as like a bits piece on eBay, but it might be hard to come by. If you don't have an extra piece like this or can't find a bits piece, I think you could take a pin, like a paper clip or something, and just model some irregular kind of blob or some paste or something on it. Hot glue or anything really could kind of work, but I just really liked the look of this thing, so I thought it was perfect to use. It is a Nurgle model, so there's a lot of like maggots and flies and skulls that are in this mixture that's being erupted out. So I took some putty and filled in the skulls, or kind of smoothed over the maggots and different things that are in there. So just take a few minutes and kind of look over that piece and make sure you kind of smooth out those things to make it look a little bit more like a flame or an acid. And then when I had the putty, I ended up just kind of filling in a couple places on the carapace that were where the chimneys go for some of these Tyranid models, just to help kind of smooth it out and make it look finished. And any old spike will do. I took I may have even clipped like the end of a scything talon or something and green stuffed it onto the tail. Just gives it a little extra aggressive kind of look and puts a little kind of finishing feature on the end of the tail. Just stick that in place. Get the green stuff there. The green stuff to get it in place, and then a little bit of super glue over top of it really helps it set up kind of quick, and then the green stuff can cure, so that's kind of a handy trick for that kind of thing. And so here I'm getting the scything talons and the rending claws ready. Just clip them out. Scything talons, I think from the Warriors kit, but I think that Gene Stealer ones would work fine as well. Those might be the Gene Stealer ones, I'm not sure. Either one should kind of work pretty good. And the rending claws are for sure from the Gene Stealer kit. So once you get them cleaned up and ready, I have the model kind of propped up there between some paint pots, just so that it's not pressing against some of the green stuff as it's kind of tacking up and curing. I ended up having to, I kind of after I got the rending claws in position, I clipped some of the nails off of them so they'd sit flat on the base. So I would just kind of put them in place first and then figure out how it will sit flat. So here we go, a little green stuff underneath those carapace pieces. And I kind of like that trick of doing green stuff and a little bit of super glue. Just seems like it's a nice combination of pliability with the green stuff that will set up and be rock hard over time, and then the super glue helps it to not be so flimsy and bendy while it's setting up, so that your pieces don't settle into poses and positions you didn't want them to be in. So I just put a little drop. A little drop goes a long way. The green stuff is adhesive itself, so really the super glue kind of just hardens up quicker and gives it a little bit of a shell to kind of help it keep its form. And so then I just kind of figure out where I'm wanting it on the base, what kind of orientation I want for those legs, and make sure they kind of settle in place where you want them. And I clip the rounded bit off of the barbed strangler that's for the Tyrannocyte or Sporocyst kit. Just clean it up a little bit so that it'll fit to above the head. The head I used for this, I think I forgot to show it. It's just a termagant head that is stuck on there. So the barbed strangler goes above, a little bit of green stuff. I should have been a little more careful. I did the plastic glue around where I said those little zoanthrope neural tentacles or something. I kind of tacked them in place there. I should have really dabbed out a little bit and used a toothpick to just barely spot touch them, because I think a little bit ran over on one side of the barbed strangler and I kind of lost a little bit of detail on the gun there. So just be extra sparse with that. I think a little goes a super long way. And then this is a long arcing piece, so I drilled out the Flamespurt on that end that's going to go into the carapace, and I drilled out the end of the barbed straggler as well, just so I could put a little paper clip in there. And when I go to put it in, I use the same kind of green stuff and super glue trick. I put a little tiny bead of green stuff at the end of the barbed strangler and then push the pin through it so it has something to really kind of tack up and set in there, and I gave it a little bit of super glue as well. Right here I'm dry fitting it, and then we'll kind of go for the final thing. Dry fit it to make sure you kind of got the angle that you want, with that pin. And then when you're ready, hit it with the green stuff and super glue. And the same thing, the green stuff and the super glue kind of help it get into position kind of quick. And then once I have it all the way on, I do the same thing where the seam, where that Flamespurt is meeting around the edge of the gun for the barbed strangler, we come back and give it a little bit of plastic cement so that thing ain't going anywhere. And there we go, we're hitting it there with the plastic glue. Once you got that on, just kind of make sure the Flamespurt's kind of straight and it's coming out of the gun the way you want. Take a minute to kind of step back and make sure you got the orientation right. And I like putting the scything talons on after I've got the legs on and the rest of the pose done, because then I can kind of animate it in a way that makes sense, with the way the rest of the model looks, so that it's not kind of got its arms down to the side or you have the head looking one way or something. I don't know. I just feel like I get a little bit better animated pose when I do those arms last. So green stuff, super glue, get those in place. We're really getting there now. And since these aren't meant to be legs, I put a little green stuff on the underside of the feet, tack them with a little dot of super glue, and then fix them onto the base. It's a really good idea to get the feet, the model itself, further back on the base, because you have this big flame that's coming out is really arcing forward, so it gives it a little bit of weight coming forward. If you model it a little bit further back on the base, I think that's just going to help the stability a little bit. It's a pretty big base. I don't think it would be too much of a trouble. I hit it with some PVA glue and just some miscellaneous kind of construction sand gravel to give it a broken earth, rocky, rubble look. That's kind of my go-to for almost all my armies. Base them the same way. Tap the excess off, let it dry, and then just hit it with some primer. Once that primer goes on, kind of covers up the putty and all that stuff, it starts to look pretty good. So hit it with just a real simple paint job, and it's ready to serve the Hive fleet. Well, there you go. That's the Pyrovore conversion that I came up with. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, please consider subscribing. It really helps support the channel and kind of get us growing. So if you do, we really appreciate it. Thank you. If you're a Tyranids player, you probably have a lot of these bits and pieces lying around from the models that you've put together for your army anyway. So the only one that would be a little bit strange to come by would be that Flamespurt part from a Nurgle model. So maybe, hopefully, you have an Age of Sigmar Nurgle player that's a friend of yours, or if you could find the bits on eBay. I did see a listing for it. I don't think it's going to always be in stock, kind of thing. That might be kind of hard to come by. So if you come up with another good idea to model that Flamespurt part, I think that's what kind of makes this model really fun. Let people know in the comments, not just me, let other people know too. So if you want to do this but you can't find, you don't want to buy the Maggoth Lord kit just to make this model, there's probably a lot of ways to go about that. So share some ideas. I think that'd be really cool. The other thing I would say is, I know this is not the strongest unit in the game. You know, I just enjoy taking something that's underutilized or not thought about so much and trying to find a way to make it fun or make it usable. So, you know, with kind of the changes now in 9th, I don't think it's absolutely horrible. I think you can kind of still have fun with it, because you could drop a unit out of a Tyrannocyte. You have to be 9 inches away, but I think it's the only 10-inch flamer weapon available to any army. So you can drop and lay out your hits, and then it would be like a no-brainer for me that unit's probably going to get charged if they're dropping so close to enemy lines. I would use my Overwatch, you know, for that. Just to have a nice little pesky distraction kind of unit thing. So I know it's not the strongest, but it just might be a fun way to consider using it. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have fun playing Pyrovores. If you're a Tyranids player, kind of try them out. And we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks again for watching.